And I just think everyone needs to be humbled by that and just realize there is always something to be grateful for. Like if you look hard enough.
So baby brought us to this fine room with really good lighting. For what purposes?
Well, so Ben said, hey, I think it'd be cool to talk with Roman about your guys' trip.
Yeah.
Was that how you said it? Your guys'?
Your trip.
About the trip that you two took last week to Haiti. Obviously, Roman hasn't been there for a year because, between COVID and unrest and a million other things going on, it just wasn't the right timing.
And after traveling to Haiti,
maybe still not the right timing.
After traveling back and forth to Haiti for almost 11 years now, it's nice to have a companion. So in the future, we hope to have pastors and different people. But this one, we got to take my boy Rome.
Yeah.
It was a good trip.
Yeah.
It was a good trip. Short, sweet, in and out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, let's start. Let's kind of recap the trip. So obviously you guys were only in country for a couple of days, just because that's the way that it worked out. But I do know that one of the main things that you guys, well, two things actually that I thought would be kind of cool to talk about is that there's water at the school. Was it last summer that we were able to get those cisterns up on top of the school? And then now there's piping that's bringing the water down to the main level so that they can use it for all sorts of different things, right?
Yes.
And so I thought it'd be kind of cool to talk with Roman maybe about that. Obviously, in our home and in our country, water is readily available. We have it coming out the wazoo, faucets everywhere, sinks everywhere. Can drink it whenever you want. There's even a thing in the fridge, to have it come out. So
water everywhere.
Exactly, water everywhere. But I'm guessing that maybe you saw kids being really excited about the water. I know there was like some sort of leak or something. Yeah. So there's probably more water coming out than even normal at the school. So what is that like for you as somebody who has free access to as much water as you need, to see kids your age and younger not having that opportunity, but having it at school now? Is that something that stood out to you at all?
Kind of. I noticed all the kids, when there was the leak, like you said, they were all screaming La pluie, right? That's raining. Yeah. And they were all screaming it was raining, and they were stomping their feet in the water. And I just thought it makes you realize the little things in America that we have that other people don't have, and it just helps you appreciate them. Because I know I went to Haiti with a mindset of like, I know I want to be humbled by this experience, and like I want to be able to appreciate the little things that we have, like water or food at easy access, a full pantry, like anything it may be that's just what we have that others might have or not have, but we have it and easy access. And I just think everyone needs to be humbled by that and just realize there is always something to be grateful for. Like if you look hard enough, it's as easy to find something to be grateful for as it is to think of something that can ruin your day. Like maybe I stubbed my toe this morning and it's keeping me from realizing that I have water and food and things keeping me alive that other people don't have.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something to be aware of. I think, when you first go to a place like Haiti, that's probably something that stands out more than it does, many years later. But I know, like, the school not having that for all these years and now having it, like, that is just a new experience to see all of the kids. Because none of the kids that are attending the school have any running water in home. Yeah. So isn't that crazy to think? Like, none of them have running water. None of them have a toilet or a toilet that flushes, a sink, like any of the things that, we have multiple of in our home.
Yeah, I think what I missed on at first is not only we are grateful, but like it shows when you don't have something. Because like you would look at all the kids and they'd be like screaming and happy and smiling about things that, like I said, that we may not appreciate, but that we have that they don't. And I just think it's amazing how they're able to appreciate it.
Yeah. It reminds me of the photo I had shared actually of, was it Denise in the swimming pool? Yeah. So she's what, 50?
57 or 58, yeah.
Something like that. In her 50s, has never seen a pool in real life, only in a photo. And Joe had sent this picture of her just floating in the water, taking it in. And it made me cry. Like, I looked at it so many times and just thought, man, to just appreciate something like a swimming pool, floating in water, like just... Of course, there's things that we appreciate, right? And you try not to take for granted, but to be able to see somebody
let's
floating in a pool, which not everybody was able to successfully float in the pool.
Yeah.
You could tell maybe your buddy
Paula Lou was in the deep end, and I had to rush in and save him. He was drowning over there.
I think Dad saved him once before in the ocean, right?
I have. It's always it is amazing. These guys live on an island. I think most of them live within a stone's throw of the ocean. Yet they don't know how to swim. They've never swam before. Yeah. Some of them are very proud of their ability to swim.
We could call Roman now an international lifesaver.
Oh, yeah.
We should probably get you a trophy.
Can I just say something kind of funny because you're mentioning water?
Yeah.
Like the proof that our kids have traveled a lot and have lived overseas. Yeah. So we just flew to Dallas to spend the night, and in our hotel room, Roman goes, can we drink this water out of the sink? Like a normal kid, I shouldn't say a normal kid, but a kid that hasn't traveled would never think.
Yeah, to ask that question.
Is it safe to drink this water? Well, we're in Dallas, buddy. I think we can.
You never do know, actually. But,
you never do know.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah, crazy to think about. And so, like, on that topic, obviously you guys were there. I don't think you were there for, like, a full food distribution day, but I'm guessing you were there at least when people were lined up for food. What does that make you think of when, you many times a week go with Dad on the way home from the gym to the grocery store and pick up what we need for the next couple of days? What is it like for you to see so many people standing in line waiting for food, knowing that only God knows how long it has been since they've had it?
It's sad to think some of them have gone probably without food days on end. And it, like I said earlier, it makes you appreciate the little things like food, water, all those things. But I think it was just, I was just looking at all the people and smiling the whole time because they'd walk past me and I'd just be like, I'm glad we were able to provide them with food.
Yeah.
It was a fun thing. Yeah. I enjoyed it.
That's good. Was that a highlight for you?
I loved the food distribution. That was fun. And then afterwards, Love was teaching me some karate moves in Oldson.
Yeah. They're super
self-defense,
And they're so talented. It's so fun that one of their students is now on the national karate team, Kelly's son. So fun. Such a cool. It just goes to show, like, when you give people opportunities and when you help make opportunities happen for people, like, what can happen, like
you should almost describe that because think of where those two are coming from. What typically would just be the average person would look at them and just give them, this goes into that whole dignity-based giving. We've had to give charity to those guys for a long time because there wasn't always something.
Yeah, you can't always wait.
But what they always wanted more than anything was to have a job and to use their skills to provide for their family. And here now after years.
Yeah, it's so cool because Kelly, she's a missionary, a veterinarian in Haiti and just insanely awesome lady. And so her son, who happens to be Haitian that she's adopted, he's been being trained by them for the last year, probably year and a half. And now he's on the Haitian national karate team. Like, that's just so cool. It's really, it feels so full circle. Like, not that we can take any credit for it other than just giving them connections and opportunity.
The only credit we can take from it is the fact that we've had the privilege of knowing them and seeing their skills, giving them an opportunity inside of our own community, inside of City Soleil, to train our kids in karate. Yeah. And they've been able to compete all these years. And then, they caught the attention of people saying, hey, they look like they know what they're doing. Can they come teach my kids? So now they're teaching kids outside of City Soleil. Very cool.
Yeah,
and Roman
really cool.
Roman has got to see that quite a bit. He knows them well. So it was fun. Olsen just grabbed him off the picnic table and started. Roman was like, what are you doing? And he started showing him like different chokeholds and grabs and maneuvers.
I didn't get it.
Just don't use them on me, okay?
I don't remember any of them.
What else? I'm trying to think. What else did you guys do? So, you guys had, which I don't know that we've done this before, but you guys had the big, like, kind of banquet for all of the staff where we just kind of were celebrating them and thanking them for all of their hard work. Like, it's unimaginable, like how much grit and determination it takes to keep doing what they're doing. And so I think it was really cool to just be able to honor them by providing them a day at the pool and giving them a beautiful meal. What was that like for you to see the staff and everybody kind of come together? Obviously, you saved Paula Lou's life in the pool, but
yeah, it was fun. I kind of felt secluded from everyone because everyone as Dad said earlier, not all of them know how to swim.
Yeah.
So they were all just floating around in the shallow end, and I was just like in the deep end with Palaloo saving his life. And then we ended up sitting out there, and I just didn't really go in the shallow end because I like diving down and swimming underwater.
Yeah. You weren't diving, were you? Were you diving down there?
Shallow diving. No diving.
You're letting him dive, babe?
Like
you
that.
see what happens? You see what happens when Mom's not there?
When he was saying diving, he might have also just meant like diving under the water, not necessarily jumping.
Yeah, no,
off
in the water, into the water.
Okay, yeah. Sure.
No, like I'll putting my feet on the walls.
An observation. Mm-hmm. You're familiar with traveling in and out of Cité Soleil. Mm-hmm. Your home, typically when you're in Haiti, is outside of it. So that kind of intense moment of feeling out of place for you is when you're in Cité Soleil. Mm-hmm. For all of the people that came to Cité Soleil, that was came to Servotel to celebrate that night. Mm-hmm. That was reversed. Yeah. That's their home in Cité Soleil. Now they're kind of coming into your zone. Did you feel at all kind of like what it felt like for them to be coming into basically a modern first world hotel? Like, what was that like to watch them? I mean, there was 35, 40 people there.
I can figure, maybe not as intense as my experience, not as intense as theirs, but like, it was just when we lived in Haiti for a year and we came back and we were all on the airplane and we were landing down in Miami, and I just looked out the window and I was like, there's a bunch of lights everywhere. And I was like, this little things like that, like, you don't see that many lights in Haiti because no one has like modern houses with all that electricity and all that. But it was like, I felt like for them, it was probably like a culture shock, like going from, because for us, it's going from the nicer part of, like the nicer end of the scale, and then them, the maybe not so nice, and then them going to ours rather than ours going to them. I just felt like maybe that was crazy for them.
So go back, you're in the pool and you're watching them come in. Once they felt comfortable, which they kind of just need permission, like, hey, enjoy, this is for you, enjoy. What were some of the first things you started seeing them doing?
Dancing, taking videos, a lot of pictures are taken.
A lot of photos, right?
Everyone loves taking
it turned
pictures.
into an instant photo shoot, right?
Yeah.
And what were they taking pictures next to?
Probably trees.
Anything, just like the buildings, the trees, the nicer, like maybe in the pool. I know Duve and Peter like taking pictures of themselves. Like the mango trees or like the
and themselves.
Pools. Oh yeah, it's all of themselves. Just it's the background. Yeah.
Did you happen to notice Denise, the one that Mom's talking about? So she's our cook. Mm-hmm. So she was a little bit the older lady in the shallow end that was just
because I remember watching her. She was like almost like scaling the wall over to the deep end. She was like climbing along and then sat on the chair. Well, like underground little
like the little seat
sitting
inside
area.
The pool. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I noticed her and I just thought it was cool.
Did you know
Did
you know the story that she was 58 years old and that was the first time she'd ever been in a pool?
No, I didn't.
She had said that she'd only seen it in photos, so she just was so excited.
Yeah, I wouldn't have noticed because I felt like she was doing really good in the pool.
For a good portion of them, most of our teachers currently now have the ability to live just outside of the community and travel into the community for work, especially because of the situation that's been going on this last year. Some of them, like Alange and all those guys are... But for a good portion of those, that was so many of those things that you do on the daily, they were experiencing for the first time. Like, remember the little banquet area where they're eating?
Yeah.
How
nice, like the table.
How nice it was beautifully set. Like that was like I just remember hearing them
talk about it being so beautiful.
For me, it blessed me so much to be able to give them that kind of a gift, which. I don't think we've done. I mean, we've taken them to beach days and stuff like that, but this was just for them.
Yeah, just to honor them.
And it was neat to have you be a part of that. I know
it was fun
for them, family is so important that made it that much more special being able to enjoy it with you.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah,
I liked it.
So obviously, like the average teenager in America, right, hasn't probably experienced a lot of the things that you have in your life, hasn't seen maybe all of the things that you've seen in your life. So what would you say to, I'm guessing like most of the people that are listening to us are probably parents, or like maybe more in our age category than in your age category. So what would you say maybe to parents about getting their kids outside of their kind of normal, comfortable, regular life? Is it something that has been impactful for you? Is it something that you wish we wouldn't have done to you? Like, what are your thoughts on that? And like, what would you say to parents that are like man, my kids really haven't experienced much outside of the norm.
I would say it's important to get your kids out into areas that, because when we were going to Haiti, I've obviously been there before, but it definitely was nerve-wracking and a little bit scary at times. But I feel like with things like that, it's like if it doesn't scare you, I don't think you're doing like, well, no, I'd say if it does scare you, that means it's probably the right thing to do. And I feel like it was important for me to be able to go to Haiti and to see all that, because I feel like I'm not necessarily the best teenager, but I feel like I definitely could have been way worse off if we didn't have that time in Haiti. Because now I feel like going into high school, I'll have kind of not just stories, but things to tell kids and like kind of nudge them in that direction of like, maybe you should go out and see the things I've seen, or like you should experience these things. Because I don't know, I just feel like it's important and it's good to get your kids off a mindset of like, I feel like you need to like break like a habit that's been going on for a long time, which would be like not doing anything out of the norm. I feel like it's important to do things that maybe scare you or are nerve-wracking, but like things and then will be good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So like in what ways, like maybe name a couple of like characteristics about you, or maybe a couple of ways that you think naturally because of all of the things that you've been exposed to.
I don't like complimenting myself because I feel like it's not the best look, but I feel like generosity is a big thing for me, because one of the Haitian proverbs is "Manger cuit pas met," and it's cooked food has no owner. And I feel like with most things that I get, whether it's a personal item or like things you can share, I feel like if it's something I can share, I enjoy sharing, because I feel like I get more pleasure from enjoying something by myself. I get more out of it enjoying it with people rather than just by myself.
Yeah.
Like if it's food, or maybe going somewhere with a parent or a friend or anything, I feel like it's more fun for me to see people happy about that decision than just myself.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I would definitely consider you very generous. I know you're not trying to pat your own back, but is there anything else that you can think of, like that, just things that are kind of naturally a part of who you are? Because I mean, we've been working in Haiti now for 10 years. So you are 14. So since you were 4, so it's definitely always been a part of your life since you can remember. So is there anything else that you feel is kind of just like naturally part of who you are because of the nature of how you've grown up?
I don't feel like you can put it into an adjective, but I feel like being in Haiti, I was talking to Dad about it when we were in Haiti, like, because Peter brought up something about wanting to work for Upstream, and he has good English, so you'd learn it, and I feel like later on that day, he said something like, "I'm going to be the best translator for Upstream." And I said, like, in my mind, I was like, I know 100% he's going to now. Because, like, with a Haitian, I feel like when you have not... Well, okay, let me rephrase that. Like, I feel like they're working their whole life to a goal. But I feel like that goal is, like, something that's not going to get lost. Because I myself have made many goals that I know I've not definitely gone through or like went through with it. And I feel like for a Haitian, it means more to them to have a goal, so they have different abilities to like be able to make a goal and like get that goal because there's higher stakes for them. Because in America, maybe you don't have like the best job, or like you're not making the most money, but I feel like there's never a point where you get to the point that Haitians have lived. And for them, it's like, I need to either get a job and do well for my family, or they're just going to be starving and not have food and not be able to provide. And I feel like it's very important that I learned, like, when I make a goal and I feel like it's an achievable goal, or maybe it's not even like it's something that scares me, I think I've learned that I need to achieve that goal, and I know I can get it. It's just no procrastinating and no like not going excuses. Through with it. Yeah, no excuses. Yeah, I feel like...
So you feel like they've inspired you in that way, just their tenacity to just like keep going.
Appreciate the goals rather than just like...
Well, you're using the word goals, and it's beautiful. What I really hear you saying, and this is exactly the way I watched it go down with you too, is that opportunity, right? Like I remember you saying, like, Dad, you said here's an opportunity, and you watched it plant itself in Peterson's head, and he grabbed you later and like excitement. He's like, I'm going to be the best translator for Upstream, and that inspired you. And it's like you're saying, like back here we have so many opportunities. Like if one's not working out, we don't really
try the next one.
Worry about accomplishing. So we're like, well, something else. Remember when we came back and went to the grocery store the first time, when we moved back the first time, and everybody was just overwhelmed with how many like cereals.
Yeah.
Like,
remember I cried at Home Depot because I had to get a new shower head and I was so overwhelmed. Why are there 100? Like, why is there 100 of these?
Yeah. So it's like you're talking about the basic things, food, water, stuff like that. I don't know if your generation knows this, but when me and Mom were growing up, we used to always describe America as the land of opportunities. It just has so many that you don't worry about succeeding at the first or the 10th or the 12th one, because you're like, there's always something else. Where in Haiti, as you've seen, they'll go their whole life and maybe not get an opportunity. So if all of a sudden there is one, you're like you said, they're like,
it's 100% they're going to.
You were like, watch, we'll come back and his English is just going to keep getting better and better and better.
Yeah.
That's so cool that you picked up on it. That's a huge lesson. That's worth a college tuition right there.
Yeah, right. Is there anything else that you feel like that stood out to you while you and Dad were there? What about, okay, so this is something, if you think of something, we can dive into that too, but I know that, one of the reasons that we decided to move back to the States was just because the instability in Haiti was making it very difficult for us to actually be able to do what we were there to do. And so we had determined that, as much as we would actually prefer to be there full time, that we were probably more useful to our mission to be here, right? And so because of some of the pretty scary things that we've experienced over the last couple of years, just because of the unrest and the way that things have been, I know for me, if I was traveling back right now, like there would be some pretty significant uneasiness. And so I know that for you going in, that you expressed that there was some uneasiness and maybe a little bit of nervousness. So how did you work through that?
Well, I first prayed about it and knew that I would most likely find peace in my prayers and the prayers of those around us. And as we were going there, I thought of the prayers of the night before. I'm pretty sure, we had a bunch of guys from like a small group, youth group party, and they all prayed over us. And I was thinking about that a lot of the time. And I was also on the way home. Before we had left, I had asked Todd, because that's my small group leader. I asked him on Wednesday, we came home Thursday, I said, can you have the boys in the small group pray for safe travels on the way home? And I just ran that through my mind, like, okay, they've prayed for us. I can find peace in that, and like, we're not going to go to Haiti and then just not make it back. And I feel like that roots back to what Dad said a while ago, not on the podcast, but a little while
just
ago.
In life.
Yeah. He was saying, I don't think God would have you hit by a car and not survive just to have you go to Haiti and not come back. Because I feel like I definitely am not arrogant in the fact that I'm not afraid that I'm not going to do something amazing before I die, because I've had that experience of I had like almost like a second chance. And I feel like that is not just like I'm going to do anything crazy and be like, I'm not going to die because I have
because we do never know when our time is. Like it could be anytime.
But I feel like I definitely feel as though some things I'm like, okay, I know I'm not going to either get hurt or just get stuck or in a position where I'm afraid or anything. I feel like I'll get through that, and I know someday I'll have an experience that is maybe what God intended for me, and that's why he kept me here with you guys.
Yeah.
And I feel like
so like when you were like feeling any like moments of anxiety, like what were you saying to yourself in your mind?
I was like, okay, we're all right. It's not gonna. Well, I got scared on the plane with some turbulence, and I talked to Dad about it.
Yeah, sometimes you feel like you're dying, and that's for sure.
Yeah, I was a little afraid, but I was like, the whole time I was just like, okay, let's watch our movie and not worry about the turbulence. But yeah, I just
which is kind of, when I say funny, I don't mean
because
it
was like mild turbulence for your experience.
He endured it alone Because
you guys got separated?
No, we were sitting right next to each other, but he never said it. It was for you and I, it was very normal turbulence. I didn't think about the fact that maybe this was his first time experience because he's flown so much.
So he didn't say anything to you.
No,
because you would know if it was me, I would have been like this. Whenever there's turbulence, I just like hold on to Joe.
When we landed and we took our headphones off, I said, how was your flight? I was like, oh man, he was like that turbulence. And I was like, oh buddy, was it like really... He's like, was that normal? I was like, that was very normal.
Turbulence. I don't like turbulence.
But anyways, so I found out after the fact, but he got himself...
Yeah, so how did you get yourself through it? You were just like...
I was just like, okay, we're going to be all right. And I just watched my movie.
Thank goodness you had a movie. So then, okay, were there any times like when you were kind of traveling? So I know, like, of course,
when we had to drive to Titayan for the food.
Yeah. Which I was unaware that y'all had to go that far. But obviously we've experienced some pretty significant... things in our travels, some traumatic things. So my guess is that would be something that would kind of bring up some uneasiness in you.
Yeah.
Was there like a verse or a prayer or anything that like kind of helped you get through, or like what were you doing to get yourself through those kind of like to bring yourself down a bit?
Oh, I forget the verse or even if it is a verse or how it's phrased, but one, it's a verse, not the main verse I was just speaking of, but another one is the one that's at the gym, and it's I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna make it through this. I can do it. But then another one, I don't know what it is. It's like, be still and know that I am
God.
Yeah, that one. And I was just like, okay, just chillax for a second, like relax and get a deep breath and just know that God is with us. That it's not just gonna turn south right away or even go south at all.
And that even if it did go south,
we did talk about that. Him and I did talk about that when we were waiting for the food. I said, Roman, our prayers are always, that God is with us, and things will be prevented. But we also have to remember that even if things were happening, and as they're happening, that God is still with us.
Still with you, yeah, for sure. I'm proud of you, Ro. Thank you. I know it was a lot to fight through. I know, like, when I go back the next time, that there will be just things, some anxieties to work through because of some of the stuff that we've experienced the last. There
was no lack of Street Boys and Street Boy excitement, and he handled that really well.
I was excited to see
Which remind me, I never even shared with you.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't want to know.
Well, okay, so anyway, he has really bad tuberculosis.
Oh no.
Yeah. So he's even skinnier than he's ever been. And we sent him to get some medical help.
I was excited to see all the Street Boys though.
Yeah,
I actually got excited when I saw them all. And then the dude that gave Dad free cookies once or twice, those are really good. I like them. I was a little bummed out when you got some from him and you handed them back to Piggy in the back.
Yeah.
I was like, I kind of want one of those.
That's hilarious.
That's funny.
I don't know. You got anything else?
No, as far as for Roman, I mean, Rome did exceptionally well. Like I said, he was great to travel with.
Do you feel like there's anything that you want to add?
We took advantage of the moment.
I feel like I got most of it, yeah.
Most of it?
Anything
else? All of it? Okay.
Yeah. It was nice to have Roman in here.
Yeah, he's such a quality kid. And I think...
Do we have a bad one?
No. We've been so blessed with such incredible kids and their spouses. And it's just been such a gift. But yeah, it's fun to just hear from him. And I think I don't even know that we need to say much other than I think that it's important for parents to make sure that they're providing their children opportunities to grow in their faith, and I think sometimes, I could have easily kept Roman home. That was going
to be my question to you was, here's
I would have preferred for him to be home.
Yeah. Here's your 14-year-old boy who sometimes we look at him, we say he's a grown man, but when you're releasing him to a place that harbors a lot of
anxieties
and fear, rightly so, rational fears.
Yeah, rightly so.
For you to send them off, what is that like for a mom? How do you work through that for the moms that might be listening and their kids need to experience stuff like that?
I think that at some point you just have to say you either trust God or you don't. And that doesn't necessarily mean when you're trusting him that things are going to always look how you expect them to or how you would prefer them to. But for me, I know what was vital for me with you guys gone was having a few of my girlfriends praying. Yeah. I just felt sometimes I think for me when I get overwhelmed by anxieties or fear or whatever, you know me, like I can tend to get a little bit paralyzed and stuck in my thinking. And so just to know that in the moments, well, one thing that's so rad is knowing that in the moments that I don't necessarily feel like I have the words to pray or the words to say, like I know that there's someone else interceding on my behalf, because that's what Jesus does for us. That's what the Holy Spirit does for us. But then to have a physical, tangible, in-person person to really be able to share with, hey, like I'm feeling nervous. Like I had a couple of girlfriends, a few actually, where I was just like, hey, like this is really actually bringing up some hard things for me to work through. Like we'd be praying for me for peace and for them for peace. And I think really like even less than being necessarily afraid for your safety, which obviously that's a component that was there. But I think what was harder for my mom heart is knowing that he was having to work through things and I wasn't there.
Sure.
And just really being able to trust that
which is a growing thing for both parties, but it's easier said than done.
It is. And I think for me, just like realizing like, okay, like Joe's his father, he loves him, like he's gonna work through things with him, and just making sure that you and I were on the same page, because like sometimes you can get focused on like your task and like what you're doing, and so just being on the same page with you, making sure like, okay, like we know that this trip is bringing up some difficult feelings for him to sort through. But I think just realizing, I remember one time years ago, I feel like it had to have been like 17 years ago, because I think I was pregnant with Dorian when Francis Chan spoke at Districts.
2001.
Yeah, and I remember, no, it was 2004 is when I had Dorian, so I think it was when I was pregnant with him. But I remember Francis Chan talking about how many times our prayer is protect my child.
Yeah.
And he was like, man, like some of the best things for our children in growing in their faith is for them not to always be protected, not to always be safe in this little box that we would want to put them in. And so I think that I remember that a lot of times when I am nervous or when I am afraid of, safety or other things like that, these are opportunities for them to grow in their faith. And that's why I asked Roman, like, what are you thinking about? And to know that in a moment where, he's out of his comfort zone, he's feeling nervous, to know that he's bringing up verses that he doesn't even necessarily know, like, where in the Bible it is, but he knows it's there.
Or that his natural reaction is to pray.
Yeah, or to remember the prayers of
others,
his people, like that is... Like, what else can you ask for as a parent? And I think, like, the more opportunities that we can give our children while they're under the safety of our roof to explore their faith and to learn how to live by faith, the better it is. And does that mean that it's always nice? No. You guys were gone, and Monday I asked the kids. Like, I was grouchy. I was stressed. I was, like, just not in my normal way of functioning. And that's proof that there's certain things that I need to work through still too. But I just think, I think for me, I just want to encourage parents to like usher their kids into opportunities to grow in their faith. And does that mean you have to go to Haiti and put yourself in a dangerous situation? Absolutely not. And I wouldn't recommend it to most people.
For some people it is.
But if that is what God's asking you to do, then I would recommend it.
And we can use Haiti as a metaphor though too, because I think really the point of this is, we're talking about Roman's trip to Haiti, but for me, it's about experience. There is only so much knowledge a person can get until he needs to experience things to know they're real. I don't want a guy that's got 20 years of studying neurosurgery to be the first guy that he does brain surgery on.
Yeah.
Like, growing up, I didn't experience the church. When I met Jesus, he was as real as my hand was. But then getting introduced to church, I realized that wasn't the case for so many kids being raised in church homes. Many of the adults that were raised in church homes. And the one thing that seemed to separate those that were raised versus those that had a strong faith was just experiencing God in normal ways. So, for you, letting your son go to Haiti is a scary trip. For others, it might just be going to a camp or letting them go snowboarding or,
Well, and I think especially
it can be anything, but
normally I wouldn't even if we're talking 8 years ago, Haiti, 3 years ago, Haiti, it would be a totally different situation. But I think like because we know so much, because we've experienced so much.
Haiti isn't always the scariest place in the world to be sending
Right,
people.
exactly.
Right now
you know, and I feel like, you know, hear you talk about like growing up in the church. Like obviously you didn't. Obviously I did in different forms because until I was 10, we were part of the Catholic Church. And then from that point on, we were part of like a, you know, evangelical Christian church. And I would say like, I don't remember very many marking moments in my faith growing up. I remember emotional moments. I remember, you know, because I think that those are easy to create, but I don't know that I experienced a whole lot of being taught how to work through things with your faith. I don't remember necessarily being pushed out of comfort zones or experiencing a lot of the things that I feel like our kids are blessed to have experienced. Does that mean that we have things to work through and we are all need therapy? Yes. But I'd rather that than our kids grow up, move out, and never have experienced anything and have zero idea how to cling to God, because the reality is that they're going to
absolutely priceless.
Yeah, they're going to experience things in their lifetime when we're here and when we're not here. And I just pray that parents, especially, you know, if you're a family that is like in church and your kids are growing up in church, like just sending them to youth groups not enough. Like we just, you know, and this is like no offense to my parents. My parents are great. They did the best that they knew how. But I also think we just kind of lived a life like most people live. And that's okay for some people. But for me, I think, you know, just wanting to encourage families that are in church to really like model these things and teach them. You know,
you're going to send at some point, you're going to send your kid. I mean, 18 comes faster than, I mean, we're sending them out the door faster than we like right now. And once they're out the door, good luck trying to backfill those experiences that you should be giving them along the way.
And I'm not saying we've done it perfectly.
But if we have erred anywhere, we've erred in experience. I mean, we've thrown our kids into so many situations that there is no escape other than God. I mean, there's no escape other than God. All the way to the point of they don't even know if they can trust their parents sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, that sounds horrible, but is actually beautiful, because the one thing this life has taught me is that when there's nothing else, there's God. And when things are scary, there's God. And when things are uncertain, there's God. And like, the more they know that, the more you know that, the more you can survive. And that's why, I mean, that to go back to that brain surgery joke I was saying, the person that studies a brain from a book standpoint for years on end would feel like they really understand a brain.
Yeah, but until they get in there and crack one open, it's different.
Imagine they've never even like literally physically seen one, touched one.
You would think they probably do cadaver ones, right?
No, I'm talking about just reading.
Right, I'm just saying before they operate on your head, they probably are going to have a cadaver.
I know, but I'm trying to make a relation to church. There are people that only know church Jesus.
They only know what the pastor is saying. They only know what's happening.
They have experienced God to the extent of what you can experience in a church building.
Or from reading the book.
When you all of a sudden experience Jesus with at-risk teens, and you're walking in their homes, picking up 17-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 13-year-olds in generationally broken homes where you have to find trails to get through, and the night before's leftovers are all out and cockroaches are scattering. When you take a young boy that hitchhiked to Wisconsin to save himself from the crack home that he was coming from in Atlanta, and you go down there with him to get his stuff, and you literally watch cockroaches scatter, and you meet the Jesus of the homeless population and the Jesus abroad, is very, very different of an experience with Christ than it is just learning about him in the book. And for a good portion of our future generation of Christians, they will spend it in a book, which is a beautiful, beautiful book.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful book. But like I said, that is only a part of Jesus, a part of Christianity. What Roman said there he may never know the true depths of it until he gets older. But that connection that he had, that golden moment with Peterson, where he realized, like, wow, this young man is going to grab a hold of an opportunity. And like, I don't even kind of second guess. Like, I know he'll do it. And then compared it to his own heart, where he's like, yeah, I come from a land of opportunities, where he was saying, I wanted to go to a place to see where things like water and food, those are tangibles. Things like opportunities, they're not as like, to make those connections for young people is priceless. Like, you can't send them to a school. You can't learn those types of moments. So for parents and adults out there, one of the greatest things we can do is get up out of our routine and go see where Jesus would be walking right now, or where he'd be, and meet him at that level. Because it gets a little dirtier then. Like, it's not as clean cut and as proper and as prude. Like, it gets a little sloppier.
So really, it just comes down to like getting outside of yourselves, getting outside of your comfort zone, getting outside and serving, and yeah.
That's cool to hear it from a young man's perspective. You had the honor one time of leading. How old was she? How old was Brandon and Kristen's daughter?
Oh gosh, Addison. I feel like she was 6 on that trip, and
she was connected to your hip, so you got to experience everything.
Yeah, from her perspective. She was, I mean, we've taken hundreds of people to Haiti, and I would say that she's probably my favorite trip participant ever, just because of we've got to experience that with our own kids, but our own kids grew up in what we do, you know what I mean? So to take a child that this is like a brand new, never heard, never seen, it was really beautiful. I think that children just see things that we don't. They're not clouded by the things that we're clouded by. And
That's beautiful. Yeah. Thanks for letting me take you. Thanks for letting us go.
Yeah, thanks for coming home.
Yes, that is always, people have sometimes, and I don't mean to be facetious, but it's like, well, any day we make it back is a blessing right now. So with that, guys, please be praying for the country of Haiti. Please be praying for the country. They need breakthrough really bad. Yes. On top of all of the hardships that the island has had and the people have had, they've just since July of 2019, it's just been rough there, primarily politically and then financially, as far as inflation and corruption and just
a lot of people that are really taking advantage of the fracture that is happening in the country, and it's just become it's really truly heartbreaking to watch, because
and like everything else that's going on in the world, it gets no attention. The one thing that Sami and I have learned is if it's not when I say agenda, I don't even mean in the worst way. I'm just saying, like, if it's not a part of what we want to push forward or see or done, you just don't hear about it. And there's a lot of things going on in the world. It'd be impossible to focus in on all of it, but because our focus is there, it's our job to report and share on it. And that country
it's hurting,
is definitely on its knees in prayer for you. So in return, let us be in prayer for them.